Kagiso, thanks for joining me, my man. It's been a long time planning. For this chat, but I thank you for making yourself available.
Cool.
As you know, this series is really around trying to bring about some information about who you are and the things that drive you to young people, and how you got to the point where you are. But before we get to that point, I'd like us to just take a journey back in terms of where you're from, your background, what's your earliest memories of where you grew up, Tema and stuff, and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I was born at Tema, and I grew up there. You know, I've always been an active child. You know, I'm a middle child as well. So I've got that middle child syndrome, Yana. I've got a brother and a sister. I've just been an active child, man. I've always just involved myself in sport, or church, or Uganga as well. You know, I've just been all over. You know, I've done everything that I needed to do as a kid. But I've always been a dreamer. You know, and that's who I am. I'm a dreamer. I'm a creative. I'm just a guy who likes to see things happen. You know, and that's who I am.
So I mean, when you say, you know, you're this kid who was like any other boy, being naughty and silly, I can just think of myself growing up at Tema as well. You know, on a day-to-day basis, we are humble, strategy and stuff. And you go out there, you go play in very far places from home.
Fresh.
You know, fresh. You know, the iconic fresh.
The iconic fresh.
So I mean, it's very similar to the background that I have, because we grew up around the same time at Tem. What were the challenges that were facing you growing up at that point, Ekas?
There's always just been challenges, man. You know, and I think that's what makes our skins, you know, thick. You know, you've got challenges of poverty. You know, I can say I grew up and we didn't have money, but we were very happy. You know, and hence we're talking about Abu Fraisha. I grew up, you know, being in a space where Milio Panda. And you learn that at a very early age. And for those that don't know what Fraisha was, you know, it was the INJ, you know, and at that time they would throw over, you know, the food that they wouldn't use, like canned food, nanani. And you get to understand when you get to E15, you know, you sing a cabbage and now okay, aksena nyama, aksenani, and that's when as a boy you go out and you just hustle, and nobody would tell you to do it, but you just go out and do it. So for me, I've learned to hustle at a very early age. We learned Uglala, Istrati versus the street, you know, and it was all just about hustling.
Ski and stuff and all of those things. I mean,
exactly.
It was, and we would go as far as saying when we compete street to street, it would be, you know, there'd be some wager of sorts that we put on the table. Say, you know what, we're playing for 250. 250 is nothing right now, but
it was a lot of money.
It was a lot of
you'd
money.
Buy chips, and all of that, and you'd sit as boys and you'd eat. You know, and that was part of hustling. That was part of hustling, because some of us, you knew within a lunchtime. You know, within a lunchtime, then why wait? There wasn't going to be food, you know. So let me go and hustle for food, and then I'll have supper at home.
And I think the youth today takes for granted some of the opportunities and some of the things that are available to them. Because growing up at our time, remember very well, I mean, there was things like a feeding scheme. Because of the extent of poverty that was within the community. And a lot of kids, I mean, you'd find that about 60% of the kids are actually benefiting from a feeding scheme.
You
know, it's queuing
exactly. And then your peanut butter with that bread, or it would be sopo. And for me, that's how, you know, you say 60%, but it was practically 80%.
It was a lot of us.
The kids that would get what we call umkero, you know, lunch money, would be kids that their parents probably owned ispaza shop, or you know, or their mom was a nurse
or a teacher, because those were really were the noble professions that you'd find within a cast.
Yeah, and it wasn't every second house you'd find a teacher. No.
Yeah, if it timely teacher or already teacher, it timely span my family.
Exactly.
That family is grand.
Yeah, it's kind of middle class.
Yeah, middle class it's back then.
Yeah, I
you know,
was
they
being a
very
teacher.
well.
Yeah, but most people would be working in factories, or maybe, you know, like my mom who was a seamstress. You know, or who was the old lady who'd go ayopanda, selling clothes and selling anything, and I think that's one of the things that I learned from the old lady. You know, and for me, I had very good, solid parents, and I think that's what makes me. Yeah. And I think those values and those beginnings really defined us quite a lot, because it's true what you're saying. Like Old Lami as well. You know, my mother used to be that type of woman who'd go and buy stock. You know? With me, my mother used to buy a matleserin, isade roll on. I used to go out there and sell those things. At the age of around 9-10, I would walk the streets. You know, walking at Item. It's quite a stretch. You know, and it was safe then.
It was safe. I mean, you'd walk from Efede to Enyanya to just you know selling. The whole day just selling. You're hungry, umbashi. You know. Shyly lang and all of those things, and you come back home late in the afternoon, and you know, to you it's just you might have sold maybe still ulezi too, and you come back with ituranyana or whatever the case may be.
But it's something.
Because with two rand was quite a lot of money back then. You know, there's a lot that can be done at home with 2 rands. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and it's the similarities between your background and what I've experienced. And the reason why I want us to go there is because too many times you find that a lot of the kids in our neighborhood think that we got to the point where we are today because somehow we're a springboard.
No.
When there was no springboard, you literally had to dream of a life that you had not seen. You had to dream of a better life that you had not seen.
I think we had a springboard. And our springboard is totally different to theirs. You know, their springboard is financial. Do you know what I mean? You look at how we are now, our kids are probably settled in terms of finances. You know, we've got a life cover if anything happens to us. You know, where Tina, our springboard was wisdom. And it's either you decided to take it or you didn't, you know. But I think the wisdom that we got from just being ekas, without anybody having to tell you, but the things that you saw, and that uncle who would be drunk and telling you stories, you know, from Itamalase next door, you know, from your own parent in Glini. That's the springboard that we got. And for me, that's why when we look at people like us now, where we go into the boardroom, siamosh. You know, we go into the streets, siamosh. So we are well balanced compared to our kids who or the youth of today, where they're just looking at everything is just financial.
No, I have to echo your sentiments there, because as much as we didn't have that financial springboard, that community that raised us, because we were not raised by your own parents. You know, you were raised by the entire community. You know, around us was things like umkhulu wase next door. You wouldn't do anything outside of the norm, because every parent around your street was literally like your mother,
parent.
You know, and you respected them so much that you could not find yourself doing something that is outside of what you have been raised to do
at home.
At home, because you know, good saying, le next door lingang klapa much. There's no good saying long no. Right now, lingatina wenzani. You know,
and still go to your mother. I'm and then you still get a hiding from home.
Exactly.
And that's what, you know, they don't understand when we're talking about the youth of today. The reason why that would happen was because our parents were literally busy everywhere. So some of our parents had to hold at least about 4 to 5 jobs, you know, and you find ukuthi it would be ukuthi ngikadela abantwana bami. And that's what we always had that, you know, or ngikadele abantwana, I'm doing this, or the other way around, where it's your mom's turn who's taking care of another woman's kids and all of this. So that's why we say that every parent was like your parent, because do you know what I mean? It's another stress.
It was frowned upon.
It is frowned upon. And people don't understand why it was frowned upon.
It's such a tragedy when Kagiso, because whenever we go to a gas, and you and I go to a gas quite often, you know, when you drive in, you see young people, they can just literally walk on the streets.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, at the age of 15, 16,
You would never.
Because
you would never.
You knew any adult who bumped into you,
shower.
Literally, they don't need permission from anyone, because you can't do that.
No.
You know?
Nokjola.
You know, all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess it's because people are not scared anymore. So here's where my problem is that we are too liberated now. And sometimes this freedom and this liberation is just messing us up, because then it's making us lose who we are. You look at it now, where having a child has become a business. You know, because has become a way of living, because we've got social grants that people are benefiting from. You find people bapetcha ngemali. You know, you find that now, back in the days, having a child, it would be you're bringing an extra mouth to feed when we cannot afford. You know, that was the gripe of it. But it also prevented us from having kids too early, before we even enjoy our youth. And that is why you find now that there's too many divorces. You know, there's too many single people. Being single and having a stepdad, it's now fashionable, but we don't realize the effects of it. So ilogish limoshekile Joe.
So
and we're allowing it.
My take on that is, by and large, yes, a lot of it was around the extra mouth to feed.
Yeah.
But by and large, part of it was we were too focused on our goals, and we knew my way out of this life that we have today is for me to actually achieve my dreams.
Yeah.
And for me to achieve my dreams, I have to either go to school.
Yeah.
I have to be in training. If I'm training, I want to be an athlete.
Yeah.
I have to be at artistic classes or whatever the case may be. If I want to be an artist, you know, whatever it is.
The facilities were not there, but you would still, make
a plan.
Yeah.
And those things were, you know, and you know, you and I were having a call the other day.
Yeah.
And it reminded me something that potentially the kids today, don't have access to those things. The gentleman who used to come to our schools during assembly, and now we used to have assembly every day.
Yeah, every day.
I don't know what happens today.
It was every day.
We had assembly every day.
Yeah.
And this guy used to come to our schools almost now and then, you know, come through and talk to us as kids. And he used to say something which at the time was a rhetoric.
Yeah.
And you'd laugh about it.
Yeah.
But it has stayed in our minds, where he used to say self-control,
self-discipline, and a sound mind. Yeah.
that old man walked the entire township, going to school,
every single school,
and saying the same thing, preaching the word of God to kids, to say, you have to have self-control.
And self-discipline.
You have to have self-discipline.
And a sound mind.
If you're going to make it out of this place.
Yeah.
And when you reminded me of that, I was like, wow. Like, seriously, it goes back to what you said. You know, we might not have had the financial springboard.
But we had the wisdom.
We had the wisdom
springboard
of the community that was behind us, because we saw a hustling community, we saw a praying community, we saw a united community, we saw a community that was focused on creating the next generation that will have a better life than we have.
True. Yeah.
So moving from there, Kagiso, at what point did you say to yourself, I want to follow this route of being an actor? What were the signs? What is it that drove you to this career path?
You know, I've always said this. Growing up in Kasi, I've always been an active child, and which really helped me, because then that's when you get to find yourself. You know, for me, it was one of those hobbies, you know, that turns to become your way of life. You know, I mean, I went the medical route, you know, studying, but I was hustling in tertiary. So I needed to pay for my own fees. I was one of those kids where I was sending money home, you know, not the other way around, getting money from your parents. I had to make sure that everything was sorted. So in hustling, I found Uti, there's a song and dance group, you know, which is a drama group, Erao, you know, which is UJ now. And I joined that, and I mean, you know, I gave a performance, and there were agents on you know, watching, and you know, they just offered me. They said, listen, come through, maybe this can work for you. And I jumped onto it, and when I jumped onto it, I realized this is what I actually have been chasing, you know, and this is what I wanted. I didn't want to go and work for somebody else, you know. I wanted to do my thing and do it the best way that I can, and arts just became that. So I moved from acting, and you know, from that directing and being a producer, and here we are. So I'll never do anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, when purpose meets passion,
yeah,
it's magic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like an effort.
No. Not at all.
It's just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You are living out your own life.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. I'm not stressing about a boss.
You know.
No.
I get that you don't like us bosses.
Yeah. You bosses. I don't have a boss. I don't stress about a boss. I express myself the way I want to express myself. I'm a creative. You know, I come up with things. And for me, it's that kind of work where you can just have freedom as well, you know, to be a dad, because that's one of my favorite things, you know, being a dad, being a husband. I'm a time away to, you know, they wanted to be there at every game, you know, but they couldn't, because of they had the set life where it's 9 to 5 or, you know, 8 to 6, or I'm a shift. They're working in factories. I don't have that stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spent quite some time on that TV show, Scandal.
Yeah.
And you did something that's very few actors manage to do.
Yeah.
To break out of comfort zone.
Yeah.
Where you now have a set salary. You know, you know what? You know, it was routine.
Yeah.
You were acting, and you were popular. You were known. Your character was one of the most popular characters in the show.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind leaving the show, and what triggered that?
It's being observant, which is another thing that you learn from Ekas. You see what I'm saying? The springboard comes from Ekas. It's the wisdom that you see Ekas. For me, I became very observant. I got into the show. I was very young. And people came and people left, and I was watching all the other actors coming in, and every time they left, it was a fight, you know, or they were not happy about them leaving. For me, some of the reasons why they got fired didn't make sense, because then you get told, Wuti, we don't know what to write for you. Then fire the writers. Don't fire me. My job is to take the script and make and bring it to life, you know, And for me, then that's when I learned to I cannot allow or put my future in someone else's hands, you know. Yes, it's comfortable, you're getting a salary every month, but at the end of the day, it's still someone else's decision whether you are working or not. And that was one of my issues. And when I also left the show, I was like, when I was in the show, I said, I didn't want to leave the show bitter.
Yeah.
And that is the one promise I made for myself, you know. So I needed to work my way out of the show so that I can start creating my own shows, you know. Some of the things were even having to read the scripts. where things were written by maybe a white person. You see most of the soapies, their humor is white, you know, and we have to try and sell it to a majority black people. Especially their comedian, you know, their comic storylines. You find with their humor is it's white humor, you know. So I said I wanted to create something that people can relate to, because me myself playing this, I'm not relating to it, and the only way I can do it is by me becoming the writer myself, and me producing my own work and displaying it the way that it's supposed to be displayed. So those are the things, you know, and having to get out of it. You've built a life, you know, you've had kids, you've got a comfortable home, you know, but the only way I could do it was to start afresh and start from zero and lose everything so that I can do what I want to do. And that's what I did.
On that, lose everything.
Yeah.
So
lose everything.
It's quite interesting. It goes back to the fact that at times you don't have to try and fight for what everybody's fighting for.
Yeah.
Go and create your own.
Yeah.
So that you can build something that you can own yourself.
Yeah. And
that is able to sustain you and potentially sustain the generation that comes after you.
Build a legacy.
Build a legacy.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that I get from your story, especially around. It goes back to the sacrifice that you had to make.
Yeah.
You have to lose everything.
Lose everything.
And filming losing the writer.
Yeah.
What did it cost you?
A lot. It cost me everything. It cost me everything. It cost me, besides money, it cost me my dignity at some point. You know, I had to lose everything. And I always say to people, once you're on TV, you know, you can even just do one ad. But once you're on TV, it's you've opened yourself up to the public. And you've opened yourself up to public scrutiny, you know. So having to lose everything, it means that you have to also face criticism from people. That's also when you get to learn that people love you. You know, they love you when you're doing well, but when you're not, you know, those are the very same people that will criticize you. It cost me having to fight a system. You know, and having to say, you guys have been doing it this way, but I want to do it this way. You know, having to break down those boundaries, having to even fight racism during this, you know, and having to unpack and unfold why black films don't do well in this country. You know, it's not because they're not good, but it's because of the system. You know, it was me having to fight those things. It was me having to take a risk and risking my kids' lives and their livelihood, you know, having to sell my house, you know, having to sell my cars, everything that you've now built, it has to go. Having to not pay school fees, you know, and risk it all. It just took a lot, but I knew that this is what I want and it's going to happen, you know. But it also took me having to allow myself not to let someone else's yes or no determine whether I was gonna make it or not. Yeah, but and that was it. Yeah, that was it.
The reason I did that is because you and I had a conversation some time ago, and you were saying, you know, there are people where you thought, by virtue of you knowing them or having a relationship with them or having done something for them, that they would come through for you when in your time of need. Yeah. When you, it's not because you want, but you need assistance. You need somebody to open a door. You need somebody to just say, Donna, it is fage imadlanyana, can push the project. And those people didn't come through. Yeah. And I applaud you because of the fact that somebody else's yes or no was not the determining factor whether losing the Lerato would happen or not. Yeah. It was actually because it takes me back to a moment I used to have in my life where I said, the more you push towards your purpose, the more there'll be opposition. And that opposition at times doesn't come because somebody wants to be in opposition with you. Sometimes they want to help, but then the enemy creates situations where they can't extend themselves to you. And now all of a sudden you find yourself having to walk alone. And this is where the crux of achieving your excellence comes in, because you have to be relentless in the face of obstacles, continued systematic obstacles, where you look this side, you can't find help. You look this side, you can't find help. And the only person you can look towards for help
is yourself. And that's why, I mean, I sit and I go, you know, even when you look at the youth today, everyone's just complacent. And they're not complaining about themselves, they're complaining about others. You know, and that's where the biggest problem is. We keep complaining about what the system is not doing for us, or we keep complaining about how we grew up. We keep complaining about, you know, Time Alami did that. Yes, those things matter. But at the end of the day, you are your own individual. So just because your mom was an alcoholic, it doesn't mean that you need to be an alcoholic too. You know, just because ukulele in poverty doesn't mean that you also now need to be in poverty. Just because now you grew up in a system or in a place where things are not going fine, then now you must just get into this learned helplessness, because a lot of people get into what we call learned helplessness, where they're like, yeah, we got the springboard from Ekas, you know, and we got the resilience from Ekas, and we got that thing of having to fight for your own life from the townships. So instead of us now running around and wanting to, what we're looking towards the suburbs. But money is not in the suburbs. Money is in Ekas. Wisdom is not in the suburbs. Wisdom is right there in the townships, and we are ignoring it.
It's, you know, as a young person growing up, and at times being a young manager, you know, I've had a lot of yes and no's, and I've had a lot more no's than yeses, to be quite frank.
True.
And I've had to learn from myself that my capacity is not confined to my experience or other people's opinions. Only I can limit my own potential and my own capacity. And it goes back to what you were saying in terms of the yes and the no of people is not what's going to get you there.
No.
It has to be something inside of you that is not willing to back down. That you are going to push no matter what. You are going to push against the odds when there is constant systematic structural or people who are basically opposing your move. And Lerato was that for you. And coming off Lerato now becomes this world phenomenon. You know, and you grab 6 awards in the US for your film. And now you and I are chatting, and you're saying, you know, the very same people who were literally an obstruction or not willing to lend a hand
are
now the people who are now singing your praises and actually using your name for their own
benefit. It is what it is. And that's why the difference is that when you're in my space, you are in a public space. You know, it's different when someone is a businessman. You know, that is a controlled space. But when you are in my space, you're in a public space, and you get to learn, Uguti, there are people who, you can take this in a bad way, right? But you can also take it in a good way. You decide how you want to view Izinto, you know, and one of the things is that people like to see a moving train, right? But the nicest thing is that if you have started this movement and you are already moving, then you have the power to say who comes on and who doesn't. So for me, I don't see this as a bad thing, but I see it as people who have now exposed themselves of who they are, and if they are fame hungry or money hungry or gravy train hungry, it's fine. That's who they are. But now they've exposed themselves, and I can decide whether I want them on board or not. And even if I bring them on board, it's how I want to utilize them to grow this empire and this legacy. So I'm not qual.
No, you
I
can't.
just have the truth.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because I think it goes back to our upbringing.
Yeah.
I've faced so much rejection in my life.
Yeah.
I have had so many no's
Yeah.
in my life that I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I am not confined by whether somebody will say no.
Yeah.
The worst thing I can do for myself is to just sit and actually not take action.
Yeah.
And because I have had so many rejections and so many no's,
Yeah.
I'm so thick-skinned that literally I'm not afraid to ask.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to ask for what I want. I'm not afraid to take the jump.
It's a nice thing being a boy, man. And this is what it comes with. We are so used to rejection from Ukshela. Just growing up, we're so used to rejection that what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
And see, it's the little things that happen in our lives that we don't take seriously, you know, or we don't learn from it. Just the concept of shella. How many times have you shellaed? And how many times have you bumpered? And now when you need to go and shella your own dreams and shella your own goals, then you want to be like, no, that's not gonna, you want to give up on that, but you don't give up on shelling a girl. We're used to rejection. So the worst thing that could happen is someone closing a door, or the worst that could happen is someone saying, I don't have it, or someone saying, actually, this is a terrible idea. Fine. So why should we be scared of rejection?
And that for me also taught me, because even when somebody says no, or this is a bad idea, or this will not work, what I've learned is that my vision, when God gives me a vision, He doesn't share it with somebody else. He gives it to me. That person cannot see it. If I see it and I focus on the vision that I've been given, it doesn't matter whether somebody else can see it or not.
No.
As long as I see it and I'm focused on it.
What the mind can conceive and believe, it's possible. Everything that is around us here started with a mind conceiving something and then starting to believe it, and then they made it possible. Who knew there'd be cell phones? Who knew there'd be cars? You know, it's because there was an idea that popped in your head, and that's what I keep saying. If an idea pops in your head, it's up to you to believe it or not. And if you start believing it, then it is possible. So no one can tell you whether it's going to happen or not, because you already believe it's going to happen.
And you know, as people, we get tripped up between the vision and the manifestation. Because now you have the vision. The vision is intact. I always say the gift is always intact in a person. When God gives you a gift, that gift is intact. And it goes back to a word I once received from a pastor who said, God is the giver of the gift. Now, the devil cannot attack the giver and the gift. Because he doesn't recognize the gift. Because he can't do anything when he's sitting with God. And when God deposits it into Kagiso, the gift is sitting there intact the way God wanted it to be. But now, the only thing that the devil can do, he can mess around with the gifted. So that the gifted cannot get to the manifestation.
True.
It's not that the gift has a problem. The gift will always be what it is.
It is what it is,
But it is that journey from the vision to the manifestation that is a challenge for a lot of us as people. Because there are things that will happen. There are things, there's opposition that the devil will bring into your life. There's circumstances. You're born into a poor family. So what? How many of us were born into a poor family?
Everybody's got a story.
And you're poor. You're too poor for who? Because there's somebody who's much more poor than you. Somebody who has much more bigger challenges than you have. You are not unique.
No, you're not.
if you have a challenge with, be it an educator who doesn't like you, so what? Many people have faced obstacles that are much more bigger than that. Many people have not been believed. You know, Mina, I grew up in a space where very few people believed I would be anything. Very few people. There's people who believe that I had an intellect, but they looked at the physical evidence around me and said,
he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. Because they were too concerned with what's outward. They didn't understand what was inside me.
They didn't know it.
Was much greater than what is outside, and that is the opposition that I will face. Because I remember very well, I was walking, and you can imagine, walking with a friend. At the time, I thought he was a friend. But this particular person was a friend of mine. So I went to high school. I was very, very quick when it comes to academically. So at 15, I was already like doing grade 11 and stuff. You know, I was one of those kids. I was just
we're promoting.
I was
bright.
I was in a hurry to get through this thing. And this guy said to me, Debs, I don't understand. Why are you in a hurry? Because when you finish matric, you're gonna wait for us and then I heard the statement. I didn't receive it. I rejected it immediately. And I rejected him as a friend. That day was the last time you walked with me. And I kid you not, and this is the problem with young people. You're walking with people who are speaking death to your dreams. And
birds of a feather. I mean, who was this? Steve Harvey said that. I mean, he says that if 10 of your if you're friends and there's 10 of you, you know, and 9 of your friends smoke, you're gonna be the 10th one, right? And he says that if 6 of your friends are thugs, you know, you're gonna be the 7th one, because birds of a feather flock together, right? And for me, it's that's why I'm saying, Wuti, it's about choosing your friends. And if you are sitting around people that, you know, you can't have proper conversations with, then what's the point of being friends? You know. But it's also having to understand what is it that you need from people. If I go and I sit with Reggie, and you know what we're talking about is we're talking business, then that's my business friend, you know. If I'm gonna go and sit Nobani because I just want to sit and have a couple of beers and laugh, then that's what they need to be. But it's very difficult for people to define those roles within themselves and who they want to be, you know, and who they want to hang out with. But I'll be honest with you, it's an old saying, birds of a feather flock together. So if you're gonna hang out with people that will always bring you down, at some point you're gonna start believing it. You know, if you're going to hang out with people who are always going, let's do this thing. Oh you can do this thing. As push it. Then you can unpush it. But also be very careful now. There are people who live on people's other dreams, but their passion and their drive is not exactly the same. So you find you start a business and you share your idea with people who are not as passionate as you are. And that's why you find along the way, you know, they're just waiting to see if ya popa, spopid. If I popanga, then minang grand. So their passion won't be the same. Yeah, they're on the fence, but their passion won't be the same as yours. And that's why you find a lot of businesses fail, like us, because then we start businesses with people who don't see it the same way as we do.
So before we go to Kagiso's principles of excellence, I wanted to share something with you, and it goes back to what you were saying. And it's very important to be around people you are equally yoked with. When we go back to the story of Moses, Moses sends 12 spies into Canaan to check out the land, and literally come back with a report and say, how does it look? These guys go on their excursion, they come back. 10 of the 12 come back and say, we were like grasshoppers to those people. it's a no-go area. We don't go there.
Yeah.
And two of those guys, Caleb
Yeah.
and Joshua,
Yeah.
come back and say, what we have within us,
Yeah.
the God we have on our side,
Yeah.
will help us to conquer and settle in that land.
Yeah.
Now, it goes back to a message I used to receive from my mother.
Yeah.
My mother taught me this, that in life, there are two types of people.
Yeah.
The one type of person is, after a heavy rains,
Yeah.
when they look outside,
Yeah.
they'll see the mud
Yeah.
and the mess of the rain.
Yeah.
And then there's that other type who will look outside and look up
Yeah.
and see the rainbow
Yeah.
and the opportunities and the beauty
Yeah.
that it brings.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
It's what you decide to see.
it's what you decide to see.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that wherever you go, there's always, everything is laid out for you.
No.
There are challenges everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But it's what you want to see, because what you want to see is what will drive you.
Yeah.
For me, some of the principles that have driven me and that have continued to be an anchor of the person that I continue to try and become. First of all, it's purpose.
Yeah.
A God-given purpose. I do believe that God has deposited a purpose for us before time.
Yeah.
All of us. Yeah? You are born for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
And once you understand your purpose, you are halfway towards your achieving your personal excellence.
Yeah.
And then there's an issue of relentlessness. Goes back to the stories you've just shared, the fact that continuous obstacles are out there in whatever you want to achieve, and you have to be relentless in order to conquer and actually achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
Then the next thing is around sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice is quite an important one, because sacrifice, you've just laid it out quite beautifully when we started this interview, around the fact that you've had to say to yourself, I have to lose my house.
Yeah.
I have to sell my cars. I have to literally start from scratch and reset my life for me to achieve my dream.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of hard work.
Yeah.
There's no replacement for hard work.
No.
And people think,
let your work speak for itself.
Yeah, you hear all these new
Yeah.
rhetorics that talk about be a smart worker.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing that beats hard work.
Yeah.
Because I believe that there is no such thing as luck.
Yeah.
It's just hard work meeting an opportunity.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it manifests. And then the next thing for me is resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And you unpacked it quite well just now when you were talking about the money that people believe that I have to have money.
Yeah.
You don't have to have money.
No.
People think it's resources that move you to the next level.
Yeah.
I believe it's your resourcefulness
Yeah.
that takes you to the next level.
Yeah.
Because even if resources are available, if you're not resourceful,
Then
you can't use them.
you can't use them. Can't.
You can't use them.
Can't. You want to know my principles?
Yeah.
My first one is humility. And if unobuntu,
Yeah.
things come to you. If unobuntu, you get to build relationships, and you get to have people wanting to be around you, people wanting to help you. And so with humility comes respect. If you have respect for people, respect for yourself, and respect for what you want to achieve, and then you'll understand what it comes with, because respect comes with all those things. Love, and loving. There's nothing that can beat love. If you have love for what you do, it will just show.
Yeah.
If you've got love for people, it will just show. It will cover all those things like respect and humility. And for me, the other thing, that the principle that keeps me going is being rooted. Because if I know who I am, Joe, and I'm proud about it, and I understand that it's, whenever I knock into a door, it's not just me knocking into that door, but it's my whole lineage that's behind me. Time alarm, even when they are not alive anymore, or my grandparents. I'm a you know. I know which, you know, God is behind me. It's you having to understand what really drives you and what keeps you going. And if you are rooted, nothing can shake you. Because you find there's a lot of people who are not rooted. When a religion comes this way, and then they follow that. Or if business comes that way, then they follow that. And that's why you find a lot of people, ikota becomes the in thing, and then everybody's now selling kota. But you're not rooted. You don't understand what really drives you. So you'll always be a follower if you're not rooted. You won't be a leader. What also drives me is family. You know, I always tell my friends, and you know, I don't have celebrity friends, you know, but I mean, I do have friends who are in the industry and they're celebrities. But I always tell them, I don't need you guys. In all honesty, you know, I've got my family. I've got a huge family. I've got my family, and I know that, you know, those are the guys that are gonna or you know, there won't be the friends that will come there in a suit and want to say, you know, a eulogy or about me. But there's people that know me, and that's also part of being rooted and being grounded. You know, family is I'm very big on family. Stubbornness. And I call it stubbornness. I don't want to call it resilience. I don't want to call it anything. I'm stubborn. You know? And Inkaniami has gotten me to where I am today. You know, because I see it and I want it. And there's never anything that I've ever wanted in my life and not get. Because of Inenkani. I don't want to make it sound nice, like resilience. Oh, I have Nginenkani. You know, Nginenkani and Nginenkani. Yeah, Nginekrach, you know, Nginekrach for good things, you know. Yeah. And in Leonkani Leo, I speak my truth. And it's my truth. It doesn't have to be anybody else's truth. I speak my truth, but I'm also open to being corrected. And that's also part of humility. And being corrected, I'm also open to apologizing. So those are the principles that drive me, whether it's in business, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in my work. That's what drives me, you know. And also care, having to care for people. Wisdom is something else that drives me. I love having to sit and listen. Listening is the only way that you can acquire knowledge, and being able to listen to someone and having to process their information. You don't have to follow it, but ulalela, you know, has given me so much wisdom in everything, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, but it's given me wisdom in having to move. Yeah, those are the things that drive me. And hope comes with faith. I never back down. Like, I have faith. I look at my life, most things just need me. I hear people say, I struggled to get in the industry. I didn't struggle, you know. So someone with me, I didn't struggle to get into the industry, but I didn't struggle because I just had faith. I just go by faith, you know. And the reason why I have faith is because I know that my lineage will not drop me. You know, God will never drop me. My ancestors, who are my angels, will never drop me. So, I walk proud, and when I jump into something, I jump into it knowing that it's going to be a success, no matter what, because already I'm covered. Yeah, those are the things that drive me. Faith.
No, it's great that you say some of those things. Yeah. My last question before we talk about your next project.
Yeah.
Is what has been the greatest setback, what people call as a failure, and what did it teach you about yourself?
My greatest setback was losing my parents. Yeah, man. I'm still too young not to have parents. You know, I just always. It was a setback for me. It was a setback. It was a huge setback for me. And I just learned that life is just too precious to mess around with. You know, I've learned to pay more attention to people. You know, I've learned to express myself and things that I want to express to people. I've learned to love unconditionally, you know, and you'll get to realize with some people, you know, are not here for isikhathi eside. But those were my setbacks. I don't think I had any major setbacks. My major setbacks was losing my parents.
What's next for Kagiso?
What's next for Kagiso is big things. What's next for Kagiso is war. You know, what's next for Kagiso is I'm working on a series, and I'm working on 2 films, but I'm also working on opening up the industry. You know, for new people, creating more opportunities. I'm also working on having to revive old careers. You know, and I'm working on having to change the industry. I want to change the industry. I really want to change the industry. I want to see actors not dying as paupers. You know, I want to see people get what is due to them. That's what's next for me, and that's my fight now.
It's quite interesting you mentioned that, and in the last couple of months or so, we've had quite a number of stories mentioning, and I don't want to mention names here. Mentioning some of the more popular and people we've often looked up to in the industry, being mentioned in a bad light in terms of exploiting other actors, etc., all of those things. How do those things land? And I mean, you've been in the industry. How do those things land when you think about such things, that somebody potentially is being exploited?
I don't like it. I hate it. There's one thing that see, that's how I carry my father, man. If I ate too quick, man. You know, I still want to write a book about him. He was a really great man. So much wisdom I got from him. And one of the lessons I learned was, the biggest enemy for any person is to become comfortable. And once you become comfortable, then you forget. Yangithola ukujwayela kwenza ukuthi ukhohlwe, and that's what he said, you know. So for me, I'm not going to judge people in how, you know, they run their business and whatever, but for me, I always remind myself not to become too comfortable. Hence I left the show Scandal. You know, you're too comfortable and then you forget. You know, I also don't want to forget where I come from as an actor and the issues that I had and the fears that I had, you know, even though I'm fearless, you know. So for me, that's what I want to do. I don't want to forget where I come from and make sure that people are sorted. You know, that's why I pay royalties. It's not a rule in this country. It's not in the Constitution. But for me, I believe that I need to pay actors and their crew their royalties. They worked hard for it. And that's what opens up doors for you, you know, when you're just genuine.
Yeah, that's something. And I know from somebody mentioned the other day, and I've never asked you about this.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying, when you the little money you made in the South African theaters, you paid to the actors before you even took any cent out of it.
Yeah. That's it.
That's incredible.
That's it. They worked hard for it. I worked hard for it.
And And I mean, in the position you're in, one would think that you'd feel a sense of entitlement because firstly, you've had to sell your house.
Yeah,
you've had to
I
sell
took
your
the
cars,
risk. I
you
did
took
this.
all the
I
risks.
did this, yeah.
So you literally put in every capital that was required to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
But instead of saying, now that we've made this amount of money, let me sort myself out, you say, no, let me sort out the people first before I can take something.
And that's humility. That's respect. That's loyalty. I'm loyal. You know, those are the things that drive me. And hence I'm saying that's what it comes with. All these elements that I've mentioned, they all just become one.
Yeah.
That becomes part of your wisdom. And who doesn't want to work for me now?
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing something, it's nice when you have people that want to jump on it all the time. You know, you've got legends who jump at working with me, people that I grew up watching on television because of the person that I am.
No, lovely.
Yeah, man.
First.
Go fella. We must